My name is Elena Krasnow. Welcome to Press Play, the StreetCred Podcast. I am so grateful you're here. I'm the marketing manager at StreetCred PR and your host for today's show, along with co-host and managing partner Jimmy Moock. We will break down the show into two segments: Press, where we dive into all the hard news about our guest's life and their professional goals, and then Play, where we have a little extra fun with it. Today, Jimmy and I are delighted to be joined by industry all-star Andree Mohr. To give our listeners a little more background on Andree is the president of Integrated Partners. In her role, she oversees day-to-day operations, manages budgets, and drives the firm's key objectives to ensure the consistent and healthy growth of the organization. She has supported advisors in various capacities for the last 13 years and is particularly passionate about helping entrepreneurial-minded financial advisors implement strategic operations that enhance efficiencies, foster practice growth, and bring their business visions to fruition. Andree is the co-author, alongside her colleagues Matt Ackermann and Paul Saganey, of the recently published book, Center Stage: How to Become the Star of Your Practice. She is a graduate of Northeastern University, where she studied communications. Outside of work, Andree's favorite pastimes include spending time with her husband and twin daughters, passionately cheering on the New England Patriots, traveling, and supporting charitable causes she cares about. Andree, welcome to the show.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. We are delighted to have you. And we like to kick off every single conversation with the same question, which is, of course, what did you have for lunch today?
So my life consists of brunch now because I have two 18-month-old twins, and they love scrambled eggs and avocado. So I had some scrambled eggs and avocado today. I'm feeling very healthy.
My kind of people. I also love both of those ingredients.
Yeah, they demand it every single day.
Wow. Big fan of brunch here.
Yeah.
And as Elena will attest to via the StreetCred Slack channels, I am often eating lunch around 3 or 4 p.m. So I'm probably having breakfast around 10 if I have it. But Andree, what you and our listeners might not know is that yours truly has recently shed about 15 pounds, and I have done so by more or less cutting out a meal and drinking tons and tons of water and exercise when I can. Anyway, the brunch time frame is when I usually have my first meal. So I don't know if I'm a big fan of scrambled eggs and avocado.
Really?
But and did you make some for yourself, or is this the normal parent routine where you just stuff like leftovers that they didn't eat, that becomes your meal?
It's totally the normal parent routine because they already eat 5 eggs. I'm like, wow. I can't make any more than 5 for everybody on the squad. And so then whatever they don't eat, I eat. Or if they eat it all, I say, no, see you at lunch, see you at dinner. But good for you, Jimmy. That's awesome.
I'm trying. I've got a long way to go, but instead of starting one day, I said today is day 1 about 2 or 3 months ago, and I've been sticking with it pretty well. I have cheat days, of course, but
yep.
Proud of you. We got to keep you around for a long time.
Absolutely. What's that proverb? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Love it.
Right.
New England Patriots, really?
You know it. I'm a New England girl. About that. Die hard, born and bred, will never change. Yeah. They're the best.
What was the final score when they played the Eagles in the Super Bowl?
Don't worry about it. We have 6 rings.
Okay.
Yeah, well, before
we had to let somebody else win sometimes, okay?
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, before we get into a discussion about rivalries we can't recover from, Andree, can you start off by just telling us a little bit about your early days of your career working in marketing and public relations and how that ultimately led you to wealth management and ultimately Integrated?
Yeah. So, as you guys know, what's interesting about PR and marketing is how much people expect you to know about the businesses and everything that is going on within the business, and then how quickly people want you to produce content around that business.
Mm.
So, for me, interning in college, didn't really know much about our industry. To get thrown into it through PR and marketing was honestly an awesome way for me to figure out how to communicate, learn about the business, and be involved in so many different aspects of the business as we were looking to promote the business. I worked at Pioneer Investments for my first PR firm internship, and it was awesome because there was always something going on and there were so many different avenues that we were learning and growing from. So I really think that like being involved in PR and marketing allows for me to do a better job in my role today because I know how to effectively communicate messages. But it also helped me learn at an early stage the power of storytelling and how
Mhm.
by leveraging stories, I can get people to take action. So it was a great way to start. A little chaotic. And I will say, that is why I'm not still in PR, but it was a fun time for then.
First of all, what an amazing journey from intern to president in under 14 years. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yes.
And our summer interns, they're now gone, but it was amazing to watch them grow, showing up for work, not knowing a thing about anything. And then by the end of the summer, they were really contributing in their each in their own individual way. But what I noticed is they were becoming better communicators in a business setting. And
Mhm.
for some of them, it was their first time ever. So
Wow.
you were just mentioning that yeah, you have to become a jack of all trades really quickly. While you might not be a master of any of them, you need to be conversant and understand what's happening when you're in the PR role. Tell us how that helped you um, become a steward of integrated in terms of watching so many different things happen and being on top of um, various objectives that the firm wants to achieve, but then also the tactical needs that you had to implement there.
It's a very complex question.
Sorry
But
about
how's
that.
this? I'll start with what it did teach me at a young age was to ask questions and to not be afraid to ask questions. You know, as you're looking for the angle in the story or you're digging in to find a really good quote from somebody, that is where you're getting what I would now call the juicy nuggets of what's truly going on and what truly matters to people and the organization. So, you know, we are all so busy. So people try to tell you things quickly. And I, as a high researcher, I want to try to dig in and understand the why behind somebody's thought process or recommendation to the organization. And so by learning to ask really good questions at an early age, that has helped me become a good steward of the organization because as people think through problems, they sometimes want to find a quick solution. And where I stop people and say, hey, let's see what all solutions may be and understand maybe what the best one is, I think that's really helped us more effectively communicate across the organization as we are making changes and enacting new things to help solve problems that our advisors are facing, but also just to get people to stop and think,
Mhm.
you know, and that has been a really important component of my trajectory at Integrated was asking questions and getting people to stop and think and even taking the time for myself to stop and think about what do we need to do and what do we need to focus on. I'm also a big believer, and this is like a thing you guys always do, like, what are your big 3? Like, when you're
Mhm.
sending out a message, what's your 3 things you wanna get across? And when we look across the organization, what are the big 3 things we wanna focus on every quarter, right? If we focus on 100 different things, we're never gonna get any of those done. So what are our big 3? So there's really so many similarities or, like, key aspects of PR that
Totally.
tie into helping me in my role today.
See,
Like
I asked
internal PR a little bit.
Totally.
yeah, and I asked a very verbose question, and as the true comms pro that you are, you gave us some tangible takeaways and made sense of my question. So thank you.
You're
Peeled
welcome.
that onion real nicely. So you were recently appointed president. Huge congrats from everyone here. We are so excited for you in this role. Can you share a little bit about what you're most excited for in stepping into the role of president integrated?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for saying that. It's an honor. And, you guys have helped get me here. So I appreciate everything that you have done in order to.
You got you here.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
come
thank
We
on.
can't take
It's
that
a team
credit.
effort. It is a team effort. I am really excited about the fact that I can help the organization kind of refocus on our core differentiators. And that's what we're doing this year. We're really refocusing on our CPA program, our planning and investment teams, and all of the boutique marketing that our firm does for our advisors. But doing that with an overlay of technology. So what I think I bring to the table is the ability to look through, hey, how are you doing something today? And how can we do that more effectively? I
Mhm.
think that our industry, as you guys know, has fallen behind from an operational perspective in technology. But
Yeah.
then we have so much fintech coming into the space that is front stage that the backstage has yet to catch up. And so what I am excited about is bringing that, tech and energy to my role to help us do what we do even better. So that's really what I'm focused on this year.
Follow up. In your role, you're talking about all of these new introductions in the world of fintech. Is it safe to assume that, yeah, it is an onslaught of new tools, widgets, and solutions? Like, how do you and the team there wade through all of it to really zone in on what your advisors really need?
It's incredibly overwhelming, to your point. And there's so many new technologies that are constantly coming at us. And I love that. I believe that there's so much opportunity out there to help evolve our space. So I think it's great. But I go back to my PR roots, right? And so we try to focus on what are the three big things that we're hearing from advisors that are pain points. So every time I meet with an advisor, I'm like, what did you get most frustrated about last week? And how can we try to solve that? So as I take the pulse of the org, I'm like, okay, here are our big three. And the thing that I always do first is, can I solve it with the technology we have today? Because that's the hard thing. Like, you hear about this shiny technology that's doing this one thing really well, but you don't even look at the fact that you have two technologies that basically do that already.
Right.
So I always have to take a step back and say, can we do that with what we have today? And then if not, let's go look at that. And so I always push off what is not immediately important in order to focus on what our organization needs. And I will say sometimes I'm like, I fall behind, but like, it's not drastic, but you have to, because you just can't look at everything all the time.
Yeah. Spoken like a true president.
Yeah. Maybe we don't want to go too deep into this rabbit hole, but how receptive are the advisors when it comes time to learn a new tech that at the end of the day is going to help them improve financial lives of the people that they serve? Is it a constant battle? I know, speaking about myself, I'm terrible with our own tech that we use here, and people are always yelling at me to
Asana,
get on
anyone?
Asana, update your lists, and yeah, that just sometimes has to wait. Anything that you could offer there as advice to listeners?
Yep. So Elena, in your next conversation with Jimmy, ask him what the most frustrating point of his week was, and then tie how some part of Asana can support what Jimmy is having a hard time with.
There we
Because
go.
that is how we get advisors to adopt technologies. hey, Jimmy, you told me that this was the most frustrating thing in your day. And guess what? I've got a tech solution for you. It's not going to be easy. Will you allow me to hold you accountable to getting into it? But together we can solve the problems that you're facing. Most advisors are like, all right, let's do it. And after
Right.
2 weeks, they're in it and they'll come back to me and they'll be like, Andree, that changed my life. And I'm like, you're welcome. I'm so happy that I can help you. Yeah. But I always tie it back to your specific problem
Right.
and that helps advisors to gain adoption.
Totally.
Thanks, Andree. Looks like I have some work to do.
Me and Jimmy will
Sorry.
be discussing Asana after this call, much to his chagrin. So in the same breath that you became president, you guys also recently released the book, Center Stage, How to Become the Star of Your Practice, co-authored by Paul and Matt, of course. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired the three of you to come together and to write it?
Yeah, so it all came out of Paul read an article about Elton John and how Elton John is the star of his performances. He doesn't practice, he doesn't pick the locations. He literally shows up and gets on stage and leaves.
Mm,
And Paul was like, wouldn't it be great if we could just get our advisors into that mindset? Because when you start a business, you're doing everything. As you build your business and you grow, you have a hard time giving up control and delegating down. And we were looking for like a story that we could anchor this concept to. And the Elton John just became the perfect story. So Matt and I
totally.
both went to his concert and he talked about it in his concerts. And we were like, we gotta go. We gotta write this book.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we took a lot of stories from the evolution of Paul's career, a lot of the coaching Matt and I do with advisors. And the big thing for us was always there's so many practice management books out there that are wonderful. But when you're one person, you're one advisor by yourself, how can you implement all of these ideas and concepts in your practice?
Right.
So we decided to layer in stories of musicians to help advisors resonate with the concepts that we were talking about. And then at the end of each chapter, we put in music lessons, which are activities advisors can do to take that concept and implement it within their business.
How has reaction been internally with your advisors at Integrated Partners?
Well, my favorite is people will say to me, "This book was actually amazing." I'm like, "Did you think I was gonna write a bad book?" Um, but it's been amazing. Like, I am so grateful to our advisors and so many people out in the industry that have read our book and said, these concepts resonate with me,
Yeah.
and they've sent us pictures of them completing the action items and sending it around to people. So it's truly been a better business card than my business card because
Mm-hmm.
people will take the book and say, it's a way to say what you're doing and a way for our advisors to better their businesses. So it's been at first I was like, nobody wants to read a book that I want to write. And Matt was like, no, we're gonna make it fun. And he did a phenomenal job doing that. But it really the effect that it's had on people has been amazing and a
Yeah.
very humbling experience.
I love that you wrote it together too. I feel like the alchemy of your three professional experiences and personalities is just perfect for this topic and what you've centered it around.
Yeah, like we all brought something different. Matt definitely brought the fun. Um,
Matt
but
brought
it
the mat for sure.
exactly, but it ties the book together really well because advisors want to hear from other advisors. So it was amazing that we could take the story of Paul's journey and then I could just layer in the actionable implementation components of it.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at how big of a lift it is to write a book? Like, tell me about the dark times during the writing sessions.
So the crazy thing about when we wrote this book is we wrote it when I was on maternity leave.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, yeah, but I needed somebody to talk to. And so I was like, let's start, guys. Let's figure this out. And so we would Zoom once a week and we would all talk over each other. And then Matt would masterfully put together these chapters But the next part was almost like, okay, well, what are my edits? What are Paul's edits? What are Matt's edits? And so bringing our three thought processes together and ensuring we were all getting the concepts across that we wanted was a tough experience from the perspective of it's just way more time consuming. Like hats off to anybody that writes a book. It's very time consuming, but doing it with Matt and Paul made it feel easy and it was fun and it was a great experience for us to be together. But yeah, I was like, Matt, can you talk to me every Wednesday? He was like,
Yeah.
sure, I guess. And he
I mean,
did
the
such a
writing
good job.
experience can be really lonely. So I imagine that collaborative element makes it, I don't know, just have a lot more momentum to it in a sense.
Totally. That part was the super fun part. It was like the editing and the packaging and the
Yeah.
design. I couldn't believe how long that took to all pull it together, but the team did an amazing job and we're really proud of it.
Awesome. Well,
And
we'll definitely go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm sorry. And are all three of you fans of Elton John
We
or
are.
okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Is
Mhm.
anyone not a fan of Elton John? I've yet
That's
to
a
meet the person in
solid
my
follow-up
life.
question.
There would be some concern. Well, we'll definitely make sure to include a link in our show notes. Definitely want everyone to get their hands on this book, and we are really excited to read it too. So we've touched on this a little bit in our chat already, but whenever I have spoken to you about what's going on at Integrated, Andree, the CPA Alliance is something that has always really lit you up. Can you tell us a little bit about how the program came to be and why it's such a cornerstone of what Integrated offers?
Yeah. So back in 1996, when Paul started the firm, he was working with high net worth clients and business owners. One of the things he always said was that their financial lives were a mess because their most trusted advisors were not coordinating their plans. So, hence the name Integrated Partners. The whole concept behind why he put the organization together was to integrate partners for the betterment of the end client, but also for the CPAs and advisors. You know, we help CPAs monetize their most trusted advisor status, and CPAs allow our advisors to get referrals to high net worth clients. So our advisors can double their practices without doubling the amount of clients that they're working with. And so it's been this phenomenal win-win-win for everybody because when a client's financial team is coordinated and working in conjunction with each other to meet that client's goals, everybody is feeling better about what's going on. So we love it because it just makes so much sense. It's just so great for our advisors and our CPA partners. And it's lovely to see them come together. And in a business that, you know, you were saying writing is lonely, like in a business of independent advisors, independent CPAs, it can be lonely. So they're building these business partnerships that are truly valuable to both of them and also their end clients. So it's been phenomenal. We've absolutely loved it. And I think that for advisors who want to grow, you know, looking at CPA partnerships is the best way to do so.
I've got to assume that a CPA and a financial advisor tag teaming on a client, specifically a business owner, is going to help land on better outcomes for the client also. Because look, you ask any advisor on the street, who do you want to work with in terms of new business? Eventually, they're all going to land on business owners at some point, right? But there's always like this opaqueness, like what is my business really worth? Whether you're making shoes, widgets, running a PR firm, and then how does the advisor really plan around that asset in terms of, are you protected? Do you have an estate plan? Do you need additional insurance, a buy, sell, like a lot of stuff. And I'm certain, or I have a suspicion that the advisor, CFP, might not have all of the insights needed that a CPA can then help bring to bear and make more clear so that the end advice product is so much better than if there is no alliance at all. Am I wrong?
You're
Right?
100% correct. How's that? Yeah, I mean, a lot of tax planning concepts need wealth management implementation. And so what we see across the industry is an advisor will come up with an idea and then say, well, you got to go talk to your CPA about it. And it never gets implemented. Or vice versa. CPA will say, hey, I think there's an opportunity here for you. Who's your advisor? You should talk to them. And so by having that coordination, not only are we uncovering opportunities for clients because we're talking to the CPA about specific concepts and that they're so busy, they don't have the time to say, Jimmy, you're very charitably inclined. You're donating more than $10,000 a year to charity. There's better ways to do this. And so with us coming in and constantly talking clients with them, we're uncovering additional opportunities for their clients. And then they're coming to us saying, hey, Jimmy's looking to sell his business. And so we can put together some of the planning around that. But again, it's still so coordinated. You go to sell your business, you need a valuation, you need your financials put together. We're going back to the CPA firm and adding additional accounting revenue on top of the wealth management revenue. And then as business owners sell their businesses, we can all participate in the ongoing, AUM fees for managing their money. So it's been amazing for the end clients because the concepts that they hear about actually are easily implemented.
A true win-win-win.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. So I know we kind of already discussed, how your professional experience in marketing and public relations shaped your career and some of the skills that you bring to the role of president now. But anyone who's been in PR before, we always like to ask if you had any favorite PR moments or stories or even horror stories.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, I don't know how you guys do these media tours in New York, and you guys put one together for us, but I was interning in Boston and we were always doing these media tours in New York, and we had a huge one where everybody was flying in, coordinating all the things, and it just totally went sideways. They kicked off the day. Somebody said something they weren't supposed to say, and it just like blew everything up. And so it's, so much of PR is managing people on top of like what you're saying, how you're saying it, all of the things. And so it taught me at a very early age that on top of all the other things we already talked about, you have to learn how to manage people, like get people what they want, but ensure they're saying it in a way that is going to resonate well in the industry. So it's quickly after that, I was like, all right, I don't know if this is what I want to do. I like this industry, but there's a lot of moving parts here. So
a lot of variables out of your control on a media tour.
So many.
It's also,
why can't you just do what I told you to do?
Yeah. Well, I think not only is it managing people, but it's also managing expectations sometimes. For reporters also. So it's the client expectations. What does the reporter expect to get out of it? And then, coordinating different people coming to one spot and then going to have a meeting. Plus, what's the unknown here that you can never prepare for? What's going to happen in the news cycle? Like imagine having a media tour. Say you had a client involved in policy or works on K Street in Washington, D.C., and they're doing a briefing, editorial backgrounders with political-based reporters. Do you think that Biden pulling out of the race might have canceled said tour? I'd imagine, or the meetings are going to be a lot briefer, or the focus is going to be on Biden, not the person and everything that they've accomplished as being involved in politics. Like there's just so many unknowns, but it does keep it fun.
It does keep it spicy.
Jimmy and Jason definitely live for that PR thrill.
And you guys do it very well.
Yes.
It's aging me, but whatevs.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to flip us over to our play segment. pseudo rapid fire, but not quite truly rapid fire. Um, Andree, can you share the story of how you and Mike met and just give us a little update on how life is going with your two beautiful twin daughters?
So the story goes, Rob Sandrew, who is our chief growth officer, he was in an office next to Mike and his dad, and he would see them walking outside in the hallway. And so one day he followed them and just struck up a conversation. And right after he met Mike, he said to me, "Don't be upset, but I think I met your husband." And I was like, "You're a
Aw,
recruiter, you're not a matchmaker, like, get out. And there's no way that I'm gonna move to California. My New England Patriots are in Boston. I can't leave them."
that's true.
They didn't need me. Shocking turn of events. But I met Mike, and I hate to admit that Rob was right. And it pretty much was a quick 6-month dating. And I was like, all right, I will move to California. Everybody was
Aw.
super supportive. Jason Lahita was with us at that time, and I was pretending I had a new friend in San Diego, and he knew but didn't tell anybody. So I'm always so appreciative to Jason for that. But it was a
Protecting his
lovely.
sources always.
That's it. He always is. And so it was like a whirlwind of me meeting him and moving to California like 8 months later. But it's
Wow.
been great and it's lovely. And now we have two 18-month-old twins, and it's absolute chaos, but in the best way. And we're doing really great. So thank you for asking.
Aw.
So it was the proverbial love at first sight.
It
Yeah,
was, yeah.
that's awesome. I don't know if you saw, but I was jotting down notes here to make sure the next time that Rob and I are together that he could start thinking about my love life, because I'm single and I could use a date or two. So Rob, when you hear this, let's get busy. All right. Start some recruiting for me, please. And then
We'll work on that.
Yeah. And then all right, as a father to two daughters, we have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. So there was a break in between. But there was a time when they were both in diapers, right? So I know, like, tell me how bad it is, right? Like the minute you change a diaper, one of them will go to the bathroom again. And while the other one is taking off her diaper and running around the house like like a toddler would do. Or no, they're 18 months. Yeah, so they're walking, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, how fun was that, moving everything up?
Yeah, it's crazy and super chaotic. And, the weird thing about twins is like one kid is totally fine, then something happens to the other kid, and then
They're both
kid
not
A,
fine.
who was fine, is now also on the edge and absolutely needs all the support in the world. And you're like, no, you're not hurt. Your sibling is hurt. And I gotta care for this kid. So a lot of twin life and like toddlers into diapers is like, I gotta sacrifice this kid for 1 second because this kid needs more support, and figuring out how you support them in the best way that you can because you're one person and they are too. But it's awesome. Here's what I will say. Parents of twin boys like deserve 9,000 medals, because at least, Jimmy, like girls are a little bit calmer when they're younger. Now I know I'm generalizing children here, but my kids will sit and like they love to buckle. So they'll sit and buckle or like try to figure out a puzzle or something. So, I do think we're lucky that they are pretty good kids. I also was crazy about like keeping them on a schedule when they
Mm.
were little. So they sleep 13 hours every night. So you get such a
Oh,
nice break
Wow.
that you're
let's
like, okay, let's
go.
do this again.
That is awesome.
That's sleep goals right there. Are they
Yeah.
Right?
identical or fraternal or
Identical.
sororal? Is that the right word for girl twins? I
They're
don't know.
identical and they
So
look
fun.
exactly the same.
How do you tell them apart?
Their personalities are wildly different. Like Penelope is a complete menace to society, and James is very, very sweet and
Oh,
kind and giving. So you know pretty quickly just by their actions who's who.
I'm so excited to see how they grow up. I saw a photo of you with one on each hip from the Integrated Partners Summit, and I was screaming with delight. I was like, this is the cutest photo I've ever seen.
They loved it. They just kept walking up to everybody and blowing kisses and high-fiving. It was so great.
Awesome. Okay, Andree, if it weren't wealth management, what would you be doing?
And you can't say PR.
It wouldn't be PR.
I don't think she would.
Sorry, guys. That's why we have you. If I wasn't wealth management, I would be doing some sort of volunteer for the environment, specifically planting trees. That is my dream. I'm like, Mike, we live in California, so we have no place for me to plant trees, but maybe in our next home, we can have some space where I can plant some things.
Yes.
Do you
California
have
is
a
a good
do you
place
have
for
a green
growing.
thumb? Are you able to keep plants at home alive, like in your living room and dining room and bedroom?
Well, not in the last 18 months, but
Yeah.
prior to that. We're on a mild hiatus. How's that?
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't keep any plant alive. So,
You're
if I have
you're keeping 3 daughters alive. I think that's plenty.
focusing on that. Yep.
Yeah. What do you do for fun, Andree?
Oh, well, I love to be with my family. So we are big beach people. So we love to take the kids to the beach and hang out and have our friends and family come. So, but being outside is definitely my jam, whether it's
Yep.
walking or going to the beach with my family and taking them to the park.
Yes.
Oh, wait,
And
before,
cheering on the New England Patriots.
well, I was going
Obviously.
to sort of ask a question related to that. What has been the biggest surprise, positive or negative, going from the East Coast to the West in terms of?
Sports has been so interesting. So here's what I will say. I love that sports start at 10 a.m. That's awesome. And then they end early. That feels great. But in San Diego specifically, there's not as much of a high intensity around sports. Like
Mhm.
in New England, whether it's, Celtics, Red Sox, Pats, Bruins, like this is their life. So people don't get as upset in San Diego, which is probably better for their overall health.
Yep.
But that was a big change for me, that people weren't like flipping tables over, bad things happening to the Patriots.
San Diego's much more relaxed.
Yes.
Well, it's all the sun and the great weather versus it's,
True.
if you're stuck inside because it's cold or rainy or snowing,
Yep.
you're going to become a maniac just because of that, not being able to get outside as much.
It's true. Cooped
Very
up.
true.
Well, the next time I'm in San Diego, we are going on a nature walk, Andree, because that is
Perfect.
also
I
one
got
of
lots of
my
great spots.
favorite things to do. Can't wait. Okay, well, we like to wrap the show with a moment of gratitude. Just give you the opportunity to shout out someone in the industry, maybe someone on your team, someone who might be listening. Just say something nice about someone.
I love that. I saw that and I thought about it a lot because I am feeling overly grateful these days as I have stepped into my new role and the support that I've gotten from you guys, from the industry, from our internal advisors. I said the day that it was announced, it almost felt like my wedding all over again, where people were reaching out to me and sharing stories about, when they knew that I was on this path. And so it's been such a wonderful journey. And it's been so fulfilling to say that, I've been able to make an impact, but I couldn't do it without our team at Integrated. We have 54 of the best humans in the industry that care so deeply about each other and their work and our advisors. So I am grateful for all of them.
Okay, list them out, all 54 names.
Okay, you ready? I could, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that.
I bet you could. Awesome. Well, we are super impressed with everything that you have done to date and just so excited to see where this next chapter takes you. I'm sure all 54 of those people are equally grateful for you and all the work that you do at Integrated. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thanks for being on the show with us. This was so much fun.
It was great fun. I
Was it
just
easy?
so happy to just hang out with you guys. Yeah,
I
it was
know. It was
so
like an
easy.
hour with Andree. Book me every Wednesday.
We have all types of things we could talk about. It was great.
Awesome. Well, to our listeners, we hope that you learned something new and enjoyed hearing Andree's story. Be sure to write us via email at pressplay@streetcredpr.com to tell us what you think, ask us any questions, suggest any guests, or even just to tell us what you had for lunch today. Thanks again for tuning in, and we can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. Bye.